what to play, giving you ideas when you don't know what to do or say. Party Gamecast. It's all fun and games, we'll show you new ideas to play. Party Gamecast. Having fun is easy when you know what games to play. Party Gamecast. We'll show you what to play, giving you ideas so you can party away.
Welcome to the Party Gamecast, featuring the Party Gamecast, a podcast about party games and games you take to parties. I'm your moderator, Bruce. Joining me on the show to my left, as always, is Rocki.
Hello.
And Mike.
Yeah, you're trying to figure out who's on your left now, huh?
It's tough because
It's
everyone's just
ritual.
stacked on top of each other like cordwood here in the Zoom.
How to explain why I'm so uncomfortable.
Hi, everyone.
And Brian.
What's up?
And as always, try not to be weird about it, Marty.
But then I can't talk.
No, but Marty, it's fine. You can talk.
You
Physically capable, and we invite you to. That's why you're
But
here.
you said not to be weird.
I did say not to be weird.
How's that going, Bruce?
Marty's done a great job. Marty has done a fantastic job with it. I commend you.
Bruce is trying to be positive in these COVID times.
So I'm doing my best. Welcome, everybody. First thing I want to cover, you might have noticed at the beginning of the episode that you did not hear the bumper we usually have there for Punchboard Media, because Punchboard Media is no longer a thing. They have sunsetted Punchboard Media. Generally on the idea of this, the whole thing started hoping to get more diverse voices in the board game. It is not to say like mission accomplished. That's certainly not what they've decided, but that a lot of that has been done. There are a lot of fantastic people that are pushing in that direction, and that maybe the time for Punchboard Media to need to be there has passed. So they've sunsetted everything. We were happy to be a part of it up until the very bitter end. I will note we did very little to help. We just made the same goofy show we make.
Occasionally.
Occasionally. As you well know out there.
That's pretty much how we ran before. So
It was a little more occasions before.
I would say we were no less than we've ever been, but also we were no more. There's what I would say for our time in Punchboard Media. But we want to thank them for everything that they've done, and we just wanted to acknowledge that once again the bumper's missing, and that's why, because they're not there. It wasn't like a breakup. It was
they
more
didn't
of a,
kick us out.
Yeah, they didn't kick
There's
us
no
out.
Scandal.
It just isn't a thing anymore.
Or maybe that's how they kicked us out, Bruce. They
That
told
could be.
you
You know
that.
what? That would be a hell of a thing if I look at it in a month and the website's still there.
The?
And I'm like, wait a minute, we're just gone.
They just ghosted us.
So like Dice Tower.
Yeah, just like Dice Tower. We're just one day we weren't on there anymore. Dice Tower Network
Tower
cares. Everybody. Don't forget prayer hands. Dice Tower Network cares. So yeah, we just wanted to take a second to acknowledge that. Once again, thank them for letting us be a part of what they were doing, because they were doing important work that needs to continue to be done, and I'm hoping a lot of people are doing it. But yeah, so we just wanted to cover that, because if you're a regular listener, it means you get one episode every 3 months, so you might notice a difference. So on today's show, we are going to be covering the app to Wavelength. We've talked about that game on episode, what did we decide it was, 94?
93, I think.
93. What we did figure out was it was the very last episode that we did before the lockdowns. It was our final lockdowns episode, the last time we were all together. I'm hoping that maybe this one signals the last one that we're on Zoom, but it's not going to, so please.
Well, by the time we make a new episode, the pandemic might be over.
Well, no, we're trying, Marty. We're trying to make them once a month now. We're trying to get back to being normal. We're doing a pretty okay job, and by that,
Didn't you say that last time, Bruce?
This will be the second one in a row. I have found a new way that is a more efficient way to edit that makes it so that I'm actually going to do it. So I have hope.
Just so you're all clear, listeners, everything Bruce said was not the April's Fool joke of this episode.
No.
So we're going to cover that a little bit later in the show. We'll talk about the Wavelength app. We've talked about the game. We'll talk about the game a little bit then as well, but mostly just the app, because it has allowed us to play that game on Zoom, which is kind of cool. But first, we need to do a thing we do every single episode. What's it time for?
I don't remember.
Is there a thing we do?
Peanut butter jelly time. No?
Oh, that's right. We make
Baseball
all
bats?
sorts of jokes that are ancient.
Oh.
That's
Make old people
right.
jokes?
That's
Yeah.
all the
Yeah.
time. That's not just now.
It's also time for
That's
What
true.
the Food!
What the
Oh,
Food!
yeah. What the food?
What is food?
Baby, don't hurt me. Num num. Don't listen to all of these in a row because you're going to get sick of that joke. We do them far enough apart. That joke is delightful to us every time we do it. If you
First of all,
binge
if
listen
we
to
were doing
these,
them day after day, we'd still be making that joke.
that's probably
Yeah.
true.
Also, don't
Yeah.
worry, the listeners are not in danger of listening to these all at once.
That's
Yeah, the
probably-
listener is not
They're-
listening to these all
Yeah.
at once.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if they listened to a whole episode at once.
Maybe we have one new listener and they're like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing. I'm going to listen to the back catalog.
Very
Welcome,
good.
new
And we hope that
listeners.
you do, which
Yeah.
you can find wherever your fine podcasts are sold or displayed. You can also find us on the website, thepartygamecast.com. You can find us on Patreon, patreon.com/partygamecast, or on the phone number, which a
What?
couple people called. We still have it. It's at 30partygame, 30 PARTYGAME. Leave off that last E for savings. If you have something you want to share with us, let us know. We have not done a listener calls in a while. But we are fully prepared to do it. We would be excited for that type of content. But we're about to get into What the Food, sponsored today by Canterbury Tales, a place that sells jams and jellies. Canterbury
Really?
Tales. If you want your berry in cans, go to Canterbury Tales.
Okay.
So we've decided we don't really do this well normally, which is there'll be a food thing and everyone talks about the food thing and they get hundreds of thousands of YouTube views doing the food thing, a thing that we do, and then we fall flat-footed and we can't pick it up till months later. This time, I think we're right on the thing this time. We have a single thing that we're going to talk about that is the thing of the moment. This will date it if I get it out late.
Yep.
So when you find out what the thing is, listener, you'll know when we recorded and just remember 6 months ago.
Yeah. We are slightly late on this, but not criminally late. Because we were talking
Yet.
about, now Rocki, I'm going to send it over to you because you normally read all of our flavor text for these. And I don't think there's a lot on this one, but tell everybody what we're going to be tasting today.
So the one item that we all have is Coca-Cola Zero Sugar Starlight Limited Edition 0-calorie cola, space flavored. Space flavored.
So what I want to do real quick
Yes.
is I want to punch up Space Coke and see if they have provided more explanation.
Yes, because we have teeny tiny cans and that's all that fits on it. So
Coke,
Although-
yeah,
I think astronauts say, what does space taste like? It's like barbecue and raspberries or something.
That's like rum and raspberries.
There you go. Yeah.
So is this rum? I hope it's
I
rum.
don't know.
in theory, it is
doesn't say
supposed
it's
to be.
alcohol. It's not alcohol.
Coca-Cola says its latest beverage flavor tastes like space.
They say vanilla and raspberries.
Huh.
Ah,
So we are cracking open. Now, the first thing to begin with is these weren't the easiest thing to find. They weren't the hardest. They're not like the stranger, foreign to us Kit Kats or things like that where you had to go somewhere really special. You could find them in stores, but they only have them in the tiniest cans.
unless
Bruce,
you're
I don't know
Marty.
what you're talking about. If you're looking
Ooh.
for the regular 20-ounce bottles, you can just go into Wawa and find them.
Apparently,
Or-
Wawa has them as just regular bottles. I had to find them as the
You can-
smallest cans, which if
So
you
this
wrapped
is-
around them, what is
No,
Mike showing us?
not
So we've cracked
brown.
them all open, and Mike has opened it up, and it's not brown.
Open mine yet.
It is. It's like a
Oh, he poured
dark
it in
red.
glass.
Huh.
Yes, that's why I did it
Huh.
because
It
I
is-
wasn't sure what this was going to look like.
Smells interesting.
I'm also going to note that for all of us except for
Oh.
Marty, we have the
Smells
zero
good.
sugar version of it. Now, Marty
Well, Marty
managed to
has
find
that one
both.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, Marty has it, but Marty also has the sugar version as well. The can I want to talk about for a second because I think the can is super cool. It's one of the coolest Coke cans I've seen because they've tried to
It's
do like a
adorable.
space background on it that I think is really neat.
It's
Yep.
pretty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like space, but also soda bubbles.
Yeah.
It's either stars or bubbles, both.
They are also calling it
Or Star
Coca-Cola
Bubbles.
Creations. So
Okay,
that
so I
leads me to
smell
believe they'll be
vanilla.
making more of these.
It
Yeah,
smells
it's
delicious.
definitely vanilla and slightly fruity flavored. Like
Yeah, it smells a little tart.
Oh, we're tasting. Okay.
I was taking a little bit while everybody was talking so that once everybody got around, I could fill in this
Ooh.
gap while you all are drinking.
Oh,
What is going on here?
This is
it tastes like bunt cake.
Yeah.
it tastes like strawberry soda.
Kind of.
I don't disagree with
It tastes
it's vaguely
it's like strawberry
fruity.
soda without the strong strawberry flavor. It's just like a hint of strawberry instead of an overwhelming strawberry.
I'm getting like vanilla icing Not like on
Yeah.
a cake, but like on
Yeah.
a donut or something.
I think that's why I said bundt cake, because it tastes like the glaze on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, the thick, clear glaze on
Mhm.
that, but slightly if you brought a raspberry near it.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
like a
Sometimes
hint
it's
of
lemon
fruit.
flavored.
I'm gonna try and put all these together. Could I sell to you folks that this is
No.
like a cheap strawberry shortcake, like a strawberry shortcake flavored cake, like when you get one of those ones where it's very pink but it doesn't have a lot of strawberry flavor, but it's like sweet and strawberry? That's what I'm feeling. Just so that we're not all talking over each other, I'm gonna jump to Mike first. Mike, what are your opinions on
I'm
this?
trying to get past the fact that I really do not like Coke Zero or any of these. I can't stand most of the non-sugar products. Sorry.
This is why I was gonna bring you a sugar one, Mike, and you were like, "No,
I know.
bring me whatever."
No, but I have to be drinking the same thing everyone else is, because otherwise we're not comparing. So as I said, I'm trying to get past that. But
Yeah.
like the flavor itself, not counting the aftertaste, which is really the part that I dislike about artificial sweeteners. So the flavor itself, I'd say it's, for me, I think it's a little more strongly vanilla than it is any kind of berry.
Okay.
There's really just a hint of some sort of berry-ish, citrus-ish thing in the background that isn't really, it's not specific. It's either raspberry or strawberry or something like that.
Okay.
But you can't really tell what, because it's just berry-ish.
Okay. I can.
And it's way too sweet. Way too sweet. And that's comparing it to Coke,
Yeah.
which is sweet to begin with.
Huh. Rocki, what do you think?
I like it because I like sweet things, first
Yeah.
off. I'm getting that icing, that glaze that we were just talking about,
Yeah.
like on a cake.
Okay.
But then after a minute, the aftertaste is a little raspberry. I'm not getting that strawberry shortcake thing from you at all,
Okay.
because I'm not really getting strawberries.
Okay.
But it's interesting and complex, and I am enjoying it.
Nice. How about you,
and
Brian? Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I was going to say, and also all I drink is 0 sugar.
Huh. So what do you think, Brian?
Yeah, I'm where Rocki is. I can taste that kind of like icing glaze sort of thing. Like sometimes you'll get those on like a bundt cake or some kind of bear claw or something, and they put lemon in it and it's vaguely lemony. If they did that with a little bit of raspberry or raspberry and strawberry, it's a faint fruit flavor. It's definitely a dark red berry, but it could be strawberry. If you told me it was strawberry, I probably would have believed you.
Okay.
But they told me it's raspberry, so that's where my brain started from. But yeah, it's definitely some kind of like red, could be red currant. It's just a red berry, but I like it is like Rocki said, it's complex. You definitely get the vanilla, that same regular Coke flavor. I'm used to Coke Zero. I drink either way, so it doesn't bother me. But I did see some on my own, and it seems like it's hard to find the full sugar kind. Only the Zero is easy to find. But if you like Zero, it's fine. Like it doesn't do anything that regular Zero doesn't. Oh, yeah, it's good. It's a little sweeter than regular Coke.
Okay. Let me move over to you, Marty, especially since you have both high octane and Zero.
So on the Zero one, I do agree with Mike that that definitely the clearest flavor is the vanilla. And the fruity flavor is that artificial like berry flavor that all the candy has, where it's like nothing specific, but
it's non-specific berry.
If you label it strawberry, people will think it's strawberry. If you label it raspberry, people will think it's raspberry. So it's that just generic berry flavor. And it is definitely very sweet. It doesn't taste like regular Coke. It just doesn't taste like regular Coke Zero. It tastes more like, I say, like in the old raspberry soda or the old strawberry sodas they used to have back in the 90s. You probably still find them somewhere. Now the regular sugar Coke, it tastes more like a regular Coke that's slightly fruity flavored. Like the fruity and vanilla taste flavors are not as impactful, and it has a more of a regular Coke taste. So it just tastes like a slightly fruit flavored Coke.
Huh. And then I have a question for the rest of you. I don't know if you're getting this. Do you have a real weird feeling on your tongue? I don't even know how to explain it. Like, there's a feeling on my tongue after drinking this. I don't want to say pain. It's not regret.
Bruce.
It's not, but there's like an actual physical feeling in the center of my tongue that I don't.
It's like a little tartness, a little numbness.
Yeah,
I think that's.
Yeah, just a little bit.
No, I get the
Okay.
usual like fake sugar, slight stickiness in my mouth. Not as much as Diet Coke, but it's always there a little bit with zero.
No, I agree with you, Bruce. I know exactly what you're saying. Where like
Yeah.
it leaves your tongue just a little bit more numb than regular Coke does.
Yeah, I don't want to say pain because it doesn't hurt. It's not a pain at all, but it's a sensation
Like
that
a
I do
tingle?
not. And I drink zero all the time, so it's not whatever that. Oh, but it's you're drinking zero. No, I'm used to that, so it's something beyond that. That
Yeah,
I'm,
no,
I'm
I know
detecting.
exactly what you're saying, Bruce.
Yep.
And I agree. There's
Yeah.
a little bit there.
Yeah, that I find very peculiar, maybe more so than any of the flavor here, because I do think it is that sort of thing where you could tell me this is almost any flavor, and I would be like, yeah, okay, sure. Mango, fine. Currant, okay, sure. Pineapple, seems like a real weird pineapple to me, but I guess if that's what you think it is. If it was colored yellow, I'd buy it. Of course it's a pineapple soda. It's just like generically sweet. I definitely get that kind of cakey icing feeling that all of you were talking about. Once again, I have the weird, I think you got it right, Marty. It's a numbness, I almost want to say, but not very.
Yeah,
But it's
just enough to a hint of it being there. If you're not quite sure, something's off.
yeah, exactly. So I guess let's go around the other way because we have to do that question we do every time, which is, would you take it to a party? Marty, would you take this to a party?
Yes, but it's not special enough to like really want to, but it's not like weird enough. It's like one of those, if you go to old, like any place that does weird flavored sodas, this would not even stand out. So I would take it, but it's like not something I'm looking out to get.
Okay, how about you, Brian?
Is this the kind of party we would have like during a pandemic or before the pandemic?
So here's what we're going to do. Here's what I want you to do, Brian, for
This
me.
is the kind of party we have during a pandemic. A
Right.
socially distanced Zoom party.
So
Well,
here's
it would be hard for me to bring it to anyone.
So
Yeah,
here's the thing I'm going to say.
exactly.
Would you be willing to either we pretend this is a non-pandemic time, or
Sure.
this is the kind of thing where you would send these to everybody / deliver them to their house so that they get it, so that they're ready to talk about it, for instance, on a podcast?
That seems like way too much effort. I wouldn't want to do that.
Okay,
I
I
would not do
understand.
that. No, but like seriously, I would
You'd
take
be
this
like
to a party.
tripping over shit in their backyard.
Yeah, exactly. You'd be leaving it when they're not
Oops.
home, and they'd have to find it on their front porch and hope the neighbor's kids didn't steal it. You know, hypothetically.
If
Yeah.
that were to happen, yeah.
Yeah, they're just tossing out ideas. But no, I would take this to a party. It's good. Anyone who likes regular Coke will probably. It's a little sweeter, but if you like cherry Coke, you'll probably like this. If you like that cherry vanilla Coke, you'll definitely like this.
Oh, yeah, it's like the cherry vanilla Coke, except instead of being the tart cherry flavor, it's the more sweet, fruity flavor.
It's like it's mellower than the cherry vanilla, but it's sweeter than the cherry vanilla. Is that?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I would absolutely take this. It's not scary. It's not like a lot of the stuff we taste pre our Kit Kat binge. It's scary, but this is who wouldn't want to at least try this unless they just don't drink soda?
And don't worry, there's more scary coming. We're just taking a moment to be in the zeitgeist for a second. More scary to return. Rocki, so how about
the
you?
kids stole that off my porch. I'm sorry, I can't eat the scary thing.
I'll make
Oh,
sure. Then I'll wait
no.
till I see your car.
Oh, go ahead.
And then just chuck it at the door.
You don't know what my new car looks like, so go ahead.
Throw it
It's
through
true.
the-
Oh.
Just throw it through the window.
Yeah. So how about you, Rock? You taking this to a party?
I am enjoying it, and I think I would like to share this joy with others, or at least the intrigue with others, so we can have this conversation of, so what do you taste? Because it seems to be a very inkblot test.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
I've always been into the atypical flavors of cola. Yeah, definitely.
So
Well, then,
you're a Dr. Brown's kind of person, huh?
Heck
It's-
yes.
like
get
a
you that
Beverly?
celery.
Oh,
No one said celery.
how about diet celery?
Oh,
Which-
diet
Which they
celery. I
have
mean,
not made since 2002. We've tried
and
to
no
find
one
it, folks.
noticed.
How
I
about you, Mike?
noticed.
You taking this to a party?
I would say maybe just because, first of all, I would, if I did, I would buy the cans. And that's because they've got the artwork over the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I would get a full-size can. I think they're pretty.
Yep.
So as a visual thing, they're nice to have. But I feel like once you crack it open, I don't think anyone's going to be thrilled. Like, they're not going to go, oh my goodness, this is the best thing I've ever tasted. Even the people who like it are going to go, okay, yeah, it's a sweet soda. Like, that if that's the kind of thing you like, sure, but it's not going to stand out so much. So I think it's good for the visual presentation, but so I might take it once if no one had it at that party before. Yeah, just for the experience. It's not something like I would take to several parties going, oh my goodness, you've got to have more of this.
That's fair. I'm going to rehash essentially what you just said because it's almost the same thought I had, which is one of the most important things in this whole soda is the Coca-Cola logo on it.
Yeah,
if this was
black.
if this was one of those like Marty was talking about, where you go to one of those like chain weird soda places where it's like, here's ranch dressing soda and macaroni and cheese. This doesn't even register.
Oh, who would drink that, Bruce, at Thanksgiving or something like that?
I'm not even talking about those. It's like the new machines, like the self-serve machines where you can even select the syrups. It wouldn't even stand out among that machine.
Yeah, I mean, on a Coca-Cola Freestyle, it might. But I think like the fact that it has the Coke logo, like the Crystal Pepsi, it wasn't that Crystal Pepsi was a great flavor. And if most companies, if a generic company Q makes a clear soda, you're like, okay, who cares? But because it has the Pepsi logo, you're just more intrigued because that's a brand with expectation. So the fact that they're being shattered is just a kind of a cool thing to experience, whether you like it or not. I think the same deal here. The fact that this is the Coke can, but it's got the sunset and the stars on it, and it's wild looking, and like all of that is a part of the whole experience. And because of that, yeah, I think you take this to a party. But I agree with you, Mike. This is not the kind of thing where I take it to 8 parties. I don't corner the market on them so I can show them to people for years. It is literally what we did here, which is, hey, you have a podcast where you eat food. And this is a food to eat. I think worth it. It's super cool looking. If you get a chance to grab like the little tiny can 10-pack, and once the world is normal again, you want to take this there and crack it open with your friends to celebrate that we made it to the other side, whatever year that is. I think that would be super cool. But I agree. I think if this doesn't have the Coca-Cola logo on it, and it's any generic company, I don't even want to say Jones Soda, because Jones was the one in the 90s and the early 2000s where if they did a weird flavor, you paid attention. I don't know. Plus, I think it's a fun marketing gimmick to call it space flavored. I think that's a lot better than it's like cherry vanilla.
It tastes like hard vacuum and a couple of atoms of hydrogen. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
It might get people to like go look up, what do you mean space? What does space taste like? And then they'll learn a thing.
I think there's a lot cool here. I hope that, because the logo that's on it beyond the kind of funky can look is the Creations logo. And I hope this is the first of many. I think we're seeing it now a lot with American Kit Kats and with a lot of other Brock's candy corn, like the Thanksgiving candy corn we had. This idea of stunt food where you make the thing for a limited amount of time so everybody can go, oh my God, what is this? So essentially they're just making it right for, I think super cool. I think it's great. I think this fits in perfectly. I enjoy it. I hope more of it happens. And I hope that Coca-Cola continues this, that this Creations line is a thing they do a lot more of. And they make it unlike some of the ones that like Dr. Pepper does, where you either have to be an influencer with at least 100,000 followers, or you have to win a contest or something. I hope there are more of them that like all of us in the public can have this discussion about. And I would say if when you hear this, these are still available, I show it to the cameras if you can see it, that you should probably grab some and give it a try. Whatever your particular octane is, if you can find the sugar ones and that's where you live, do that. I would say as a drinker of the zero, it's perfectly fine. I'm okay with it. So I would take it to a party, and I did. I brought it to everybody here so that we could except for Marty, who found better than I could find.
Yeah. And I had to do it myself.
But you found the right place. Now I'll go check out Wawa and see what I can do with that. But once again,
they also definitely have it at our local grocery store in bottle form.
Okay, so I didn't see it in bottle. I saw it in can, and that's why you have can. But wherever you are, however you find it, I do agree with Mike. I think if you're grabbing this to share with others, you want the can, because the can is a much better presentation than the bottle is. The can's a wild trip if you're used to seeing like a Coke can.
Yeah, it's very pretty.
Yeah. It is a very attractive can as far as in 20 years, when people are trying to sell these on whatever the next version of eBay is, it is at least going to look like a fun art piece. I would say. But yeah, I would also take it to a party. Once again, we want to thank the fine folks at Canterbury Tales. If you're looking to buy berries in a can, go to Canterbury Tales. So we're going to move on to the next part of the show, where we're going to talk
about party games.
Say it again.
What?
when we talk about party games.
The part
on
that we
game
talk about party
podcast.
games for some reason.
But we haven't done the part of the show where we talk about Kit Kats or Lay's products.
Yeah, really.
I know. Isn't it crazy to do one of these and to not talk about a Kit Kat or a Lay's product or a potato chip? That was part of
Or
the reason
something
I
from
wanted to do
Asia,
this.
like no food from Asia. What?
We're trying a
Yeah.
new thing. We're trying to branch out a little bit. And now we're going to do the part where we branch out to party games. Now, as we thought we were going to be in the world, and now we're not in the world again. So we're talking about virtual games. So this time we're going to talk about a virtual implementation, once again, of a game we covered on episode, I think we decided it was 93 when oh man, that was when Mike was naming. I could tell because it's a real creative title, and I had to look in it to figure out what the name of the game was. When we talked about Wavelength in 93. So who wants to talk about just basically how Wavelength works, and then we'll get into a little bit more of how exactly the app takes care of it.
I'll do it.
Okay.
All right, so Wavelength, the game is you have one person who has, there's a half circle graph where you have like a dial arrow pointing from one extreme on the left to the other extreme on the right. And the card has two things on it, labels for the range, and then a wedge of the place where you score the points. And the points go from 1 to 4. So what you want to do is the person who gets the card will try to give a clue to have the rest of the people guess as close to try to get on the 4, because that's how many points you get. Trying to figure out how to get them to guess to that point using a clue that works between the range that's given in the card. So like some of the ones are like from hot to cold, or easy to difficult, and then you can make your clue according to that. Like the clue for between hot and cold was coffee, and that most people expect their coffee to be hot, but it's not lava hot, so you're not all the way to the hot side, you're about halfway on the hot side. And so that was where they scored. Now the app just puts that game online and handles all of the things for you. So you just have, at the beginning, you pick a couple. They show you a couple of charts, and then you just pick your clue for it, and then it goes through, and everyone gets two guesses, two clues where they're the ones setting it up, and then you go through that, and based on the total number of points, it gives you a score at the end.
Yeah, and normally, as we talked about in the other show, we're not going to go into too much detail because you have a whole other episode you could listen to. It's got a really cool toyetic wheel that you mess with where you spin a thing around. And it gives you where this kind of free-form range is that tells you between 2 and 4 points what you're trying to get. And in this case, the app does all of that. So you can go into your Google Play Store, your Apple App Store, and look for Wavelength, and it's going to be like the weird brain head with things. It's real artsy-fartsy, just like all of their stuff is. It's very artsy and very cool. Like, it's a cool art. When you see it, you're like, oh, that's some cool person stuff there. That might repulse you. But you're at least going to, even if you don't like the aesthetic, you're going to be like, this is very aesthetic. They very much worked on what this looks like.
Yeah, they have a very consistent view for what they want.
Yes.
Whether you like that or not.
Exactly.
Really wants to participate, apparently. Party Game Cat's getting in.
Uh-oh.
Nice.
Yes, he's disappointed that since it's virtual, there's nothing to knock over.
Right.
Oh,
So
I'm
he's
sorry,
just gonna-
buddy.
He's just going to be present. Just so you know, if he could mess with you, he would.
And no chips to eat this episode.
Yeah.
Sentiment.
The first thing to note with this one is it is an app. Everyone has to get it. It doesn't have that you don't know Jack thing where it's just a web page. You definitely have to get this app on your device. It lets you set up as either the host or a player. If you're the host, you say, hey, I'm the host, and then it gives you a code, just like all the Jackbox stuff that you hand everybody else, and it brings them in the room with you. As Marty noted, you get 2 prompts. You get that range. What is it they call it in the game? I'm trying to remember. The spectrum is what they refer to
Yeah,
it.
Spectrum.
Yeah.
And the
Hence the name
spectrum.
of the game.
Say it again. Hence the
Hence the name of the game.
And the spectrum they give you, for the free version, what we were already finding was that we were seeing the same ones over again. So I would say the free version is not necessarily good enough to play it continuous. It is good enough to show you that it is a functional application and will do what it's supposed to. But we were already seeing like useful to useless and hot to cold. We were already seeing duplicates and having to pass them. They do have a bunch of packs you can buy for between $1 and I think $8 buys you all of the packs, and they will start to give you spectrum like from the fast to the furious, which I think is a lot of fun. I think it does a good job of keeping you in bounds so that you try not to do anything that's too far out of what the game wants you to do. It reminds you, if they're talking about your clue, to stay quiet. It even tells you on the screen, don't talk now, which is a thing I found in the live game is sometimes a problem to keep telling people, like, you don't talk. Now that the screen says it, you're like, oh, the screen told me not to talk. I guess I'm not supposed to talk now. So yeah, past that, what's everybody think of it? How do you feel, I guess, about the game? This is going to be a quick one this time because we've covered the game. How do you feel about the game, and how do you feel about this particular version of it? Brian, let me start with you.
I really like the original game, which I'm sure I said on the original episode. I don't remember all of it. But yeah, it's a really fun game. I think this mobile version is a very, simple adaptation of it. Because it basically, like, you get the little slider wheel just like normal, and I like the mechanism where everybody can move the slider except for the person whose question it was, and it shows you who's moving it with the little icon when you touch it and slide it, and you have to vote and essentially lock in. So I like that mechanism. It's very self-explanatory. It has a little tutorial at the beginning, but it's very approachable. It's fun. I like that it adds your score up for you and shows you your little rating. It could go slightly faster. The little summary at the end, it is very slow, and then it has like little highlights at the end of like person who used the most emojis or whoever's question was the longest, just random little superlatives that it can give you. So I think all of that makes it a very fun experience. It's a free app. It's not big. I don't know if you get the pack if only the host needs the pack, or I would hope so. That would be my only question. But most apps like this, it tends to be if the host has the pack, then everyone who joins the host game can share. So probably you would only need one person in your group to buy it. So it's only $8, and it is only $8. So it's not that much.
It does encourage you at the beginning of the game that you should start some kind of voice chat with everybody.
Yeah. We did it over Zoom, obviously, like we always do.
Zoom.
Yeah. And I would say that's one of the neat things. You could literally do this over just voice. You could do this just hearing people. And I don't think it would remove much from the game. I think you could do this on an old school phone line and you'd be. But as Brian mentioned, one of the things I didn't bring up, which was everybody can move the pin. It shows you who's moving the pin. And then all the people on the team have to lock in and say, I'm okay with where the pin is. If someone moves the pin, it unlocks everybody again. And until everyone clicks in, until everyone turns their key, you can't get that thing to lock in, which is...
Yeah, and it's... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, for us, I like that. We could all talk, get consensus, feel like we had it. In the wrong group, I think that could be...
Yeah, there's a sabotage potential there.
Yeah, there is a I think for a well-meaning group, it's incredibly well made because you probably don't even notice that as soon as you touch it, like the idea of that you can still move it after people lock in and it just unlocks people rather than it locks the thing and then the person has to unlock, it from a programmer kind of. So from that aspect, I like that. That's a smart way to set that up. But it does leave it open to sabotage, but it would the other way. If it locked the pointer until someone unclicked, you could have someone just move it where they want and lock it. Someone's always going to find a way to sabotage if they're that kind of person.
Yes.
I don't think any app is free of that. But yeah, it's very clever. It's very smart and it's simple. And it takes a certain amount of like smarts to make something so simple. It's actually not easy to make something so simple. Again, from my programming background, I'm very impressed. It's hard to make something this easy and quick to understand.
Well, and that's what we talk about a lot with the game design stuff on the show here, that that elegance, as nerds like to say, is that where you're going to find the most elegant games are party games, because you have to be able to describe them to 7 drunk people at once and get them on board. And that requires a very engaging and incredibly simple game, which I think you can say this app certainly is. Mike, what are your thoughts on it?
I like the game. I liked the original and I like the app version. I will say that we ran into a couple of bumps. There were some server issues, people getting disconnected. There was definitely some latency. Things were showing up. Since we were on Zoom at the same time, we could hear other people were reacting to things we hadn't seen yet. So you could hear that people were getting in at various different times. I would have liked a little more variety in emojis. I think you never have more than 4 of them in your little array of emojis that you can mash frenetically at the bottom of your screen, which we did a lot. I think there's a limitation though, and the what I would say is that I understand that giving it as a free app means that they're only going to give you like a taste. They're only going to give you a few of these Spectrum examples to play with, just so that you get the idea of how the game works. And then you have to pay if you want a real, like, a wider game, a more varied game, which is reasonable. But at the same time, I have a feeling that it's going to require more than just the host to have those packs if everyone wants to play. If it does, then this becomes more expensive than the board game and actually scales up its expense overall the more players you have, which is great from a business standpoint because it makes them more money, but not so great from the end user standpoint because we as a group would have to spend more money to get the same experience.
So then what I'm going to do is right this second, I've bought all the packs so that we don't have to guess about this. And we're going to test this out right now. And here's what we've learned. If you buy the content and you are the host, you get avatars that only you, the person who paid for things, are allowed to use. And you get the spectrums, which you can share as long as you are the host. So we played one of the games that was like the ridiculous version that were shut up and sit down spectrums. That we just tested. I bought it. I was the host. I could change my avatar to one of the new freaky deaky weird avatars. No one else could, but
I mean, they're all freaky deaky weird avatars. To be fair, they're pretty artsy.
Oh, they're incredibly artsy, and they get artsier if you buy the pack. Artsy. But yeah, so I bought all the packs. I could have picked any of the packs I wanted. You can start with basic. You can click. There are, I think, 4 that are available right now, 5 that are available right now. But you can pick which ones you want to turn on and which ones you want to turn off. So if there's some of them you just don't like, you do not need to keep them. Right now, there's Starter, the Jumbo, which is the huge one, the most expensive pack. It has 150 different spectrums in it. Big Brain, which is like a double-sized one, but it's not as big as Jumbo. And then Chaotic and Divisive Nonsense is the shut up and sit down one. You can, at the beginning, pick which packs you want to play with. You can turn on and turn off any of them that you want to. We literally just picked Divisive Nonsense to make sure that we could confirm that the host could give those spectrum to everybody, and they can. Once again, nobody else that was in the game could use the avatars, so the cosmetic stuff stayed with me because I'm the one who paid for the packs, but I could share all of the stuff as the host. So there's, just so you know how that works, almost exactly like you'd expect.
Yeah.
So
like you'd hope for.
Yeah, it's exactly as you'd hope. I believe we were on mic. So for all of you, this is seconds later. For us, it's been 20 minutes since we were live in the show.
Yeah, we had to test it.
We had to test
20 minutes of chaos.
Yeah.
Also.
Which was pretty awesome.
Yeah,
Rocki.
lively.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on this, both kind of as the game, but of course, more importantly, on the app version of it?
I like that it has a cute little short tutorial, just in case someone hasn't played before. So you don't have to, okay, so there's this thing, and you got to move the thing, and then, like, it's very clear and concise. I like that you don't have to be in the same room to play. Like, you don't have to be on the same Wi-Fi or anything. You don't have to stream anything like Jackbox. You can have some kind of voice chat, which helps a lot. So any Zoom or virtual get-together, you can play it. It's just as enjoyable as the real-life one. I think it's definitely got the same vibe, if not more, because there are more graphics and things to portray their theme. The only thing for me was the little lagging and glitching, but it was really only in that first game. It improved after that. And after you play, it asks you how your game went, and you can rate it and you can give them instant feedback. So clearly it's a work in progress that they're going to work on. I like that.
So then I'm going to include another question here. We still haven't had Marty talk about it. And I'm going to start, Marty, as your prompt is this question. So we've played the real version. And by that, like the live physical toyetic toy game version. And then we've played this app version. If you're talking to someone about it, which version do you suggest they buy?
It really depends on the person. I know the person's a big gamer that has like physical boxes of games, I would recommend the box version. If it's someone that's just into games but doesn't have a huge collection, I would recommend the app. I think it really comes down to personal preferences. I think the games, they both play very similarly, and the app does a good job of recreating the feeling of the physical game. And it's just a question of whether you want the physical game or if you want the app game.
I can't agree with you more. I personally like having so it's a weird case where I'm going to say I love having the physical version because it looks like a little game show set. Like it looks like exactly what you'd want it to be. It's a super cool toy. That's why I kickstarted it, was because I was like, look at this cool little toy with this great game around it. But I agree with you. I'll probably play the app version more because anywhere I am, I can tell people to just download the app and just start playing. We've talked about games like this where it's going to be the thing once we get back to a more normal world. And I will say a lot of other people have already done that. So if you're one of those folks that has, this will help you out. If you're at a convention and you're in that convention line waiting to get into whatever it is you're doing, this is a perfect game for that moment, because you only need to hear each other and be able to get to the app and have just enough internet to be able to connect to it. I think that makes this a perfect version for situations like that.
A car trip, like a long car trip, it's a great game for that as well.
I think it could be, as long as you just like the person in the front seat just helps everybody. The person who's driving just talks and doesn't have to move anything around.
Yeah.
Brian, so what are your thoughts on this?
I had a question. We did most of our I already talked about, but I had a question about, I guess maybe you might see when you bought the pack. What's the maximum players on this? Does it?
Yeah, I was thinking that myself.
You take it to convention, there's potentially 100, whatever.
Yeah, I don't see this as a game to play like in the front of the room at a convention. I see this as the kind of game you would play in line. But I'm actually I'm gonna look right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It looks like 9 people and the host. So it looks like 10 people can play the game.
Okay, that's a good number.
Yeah,
that's a pretty big number.
Yeah, it's showing me that I can add
more
9
than that.
folks.
I feel like any more than maybe a dozen, and you just no one's ever going to agree on anything, and you're always going to have somebody who's fighting over moving a little thing. So no, that's a good number, but that was worth checking because you can play with a lot of strangers. For the new question, I like the app version better, just like you do. I think it's more versatile. I love the kit on the original. It's beautiful and cool and fun, but the app's easier. It also depends on your group. If you have a group that likes to sit around the table and wants to physically do a thing, then get the physical version. But if you're playing with random people at parties, or if you have a group of friends who's happy just hanging out on the porch, especially if you do a semi-socially distanced party, like where you hang out on someone's porch, but you don't go inside and sit around a table, this is better for that. So it depends on your friend group, but I would say the app is more versatile. Yeah,
it hurts me to say it. And I would say if you look at games as objects of art, that it's a real great object of art. It's one of my favorites as far as an art piece goes. And still, I would suggest the app to people unless you're an art collector. If you want that art to show people, that sculpture, it's very good at that. But I think this might just be so much more useful. Rocki, so I'll get back to you. We jumped over to Marty while you were talking about it. Which of these, now we have the physical game, we're probably not getting rid of it, but between the two, if you're talking to a new person, like we know some people that we would suggest these games to, which one are you going to suggest to them?
Honestly, probably the virtual one. Because there is a tiny learning curve with the physical one, because you have to like turn the thing and then turn it back. Like there's the thing that covers it, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I like with the virtual one, everyone that's trying to figure it out and is working together, you all can touch that dial.
Yes.
Whereas when you're in a group, it usually ends up being one person turning it and saying, all right, you guys like that? Is this good? And I like that slight adversarial, not combative per se.
Yeah.
But you do need
dissenting opinions.
But you do need to have people that are willing to give up the fight eventually.
Yes. Oh, that is definitely. We went through a couple of that in that game that we just did to test out the packs. We had a couple where we were fighting pretty hard, but we're all friends. We should be playing a game together. We were eventually willing to acquiesce. But if you have people that are not willing to, they can make this a real miserable experience. But I would argue they can make any gaming experience a miserable experience, not just this one. This one's just a prettier miserable experience of horrible people.
Yeah, at least it's aesthetically pleasing along the way.
Exactly. And how about you, Mike, of the two? Because I think this is a real important question for this, is would you suggest the physical game or the app to people?
I would say, similar to Marty, it would depend on the people, and it would also depend on the venue. If you're looking for something to do now, which is when a lot of us are still socially distanced and everything like that, obviously the virtual one's the way to go. You get the app. But we're assuming that it's a brand new world where we're out of worrying about COVID and we're back to socializing as we used to. Then it depends on the situation where you're in. If you are in a place where you can sit down and play games for a while, I still think the physical one, because the kit's so nice, because it's tactile, it's fun to play with.
Yeah.
I would say just for that, people are going to come over and go, "Ooh, what is that nice little toy? It's what's the pretty little thing you got on the table there?" And there's something to be said for that. So
Definitely.
I would say in that situation, and if you're the kind of person who tends to be gaming in that sort of situation, you probably want the physical one. If you are someone who's just more interested in ease of use, if you're interested in convenience, if you're looking for something you can play in the car or in line at the con, like Bruce suggested, then yeah, the app is for you. But it depends on the person and it depends on the venue.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. Or if you, I think this is, we talked about it before, and we're not going to try to get into it too much. It's a great game. A lot of people are going to like it. There are a lot of places you can take it. There are a lot of cases where you're dealing with people that maybe don't play games, where you can explain it just quick enough. And if they continue to not quite understand what's going on, you can run through them and just pull them along if you need to. So if you're somewhere where, for instance, people just don't want to use the tech, they're just technophobic for whatever reason, or you get the, well, I don't put apps on my phone, I'm not just putting any app on my phone. You go, okay, fine, we'll play the physical. You will get that resistance sometimes. Or you get people that are like, I'm only at 6% and I really have to do this thing, and then someone might call me. And then if people are going to, if you're around people that are going to give you that kind of wall of resistance, which I've seen for some things, like even for Jackbox, sometimes people will go, I don't know if I'm going to take the time. What if somebody calls me? What if I have to do a thing? I also want to keep looking at sports scores. I don't know if that's the problem, then of course you do the physical version. But I think this is a rare case where I think the app and the physical version are on pretty solid footing with each other. And I would say this is one of my favorite physical versions of any game made. And I think they're about even Steven. But I think you're right, Mike. It's to be said, do you just care about the gameplay, or are the aesthetics important? If the aesthetics are important at all to you, it's a heck of an object of art. Final question, we'll go around, we'll answer quickly. Would you take it to a party? We are talking about the app in this case. Don't worry about the physical version. I did want to do the comparison, though. Would you take it to a party, Mike?
Yeah, I would. And assuming that we are back in the world and having parties in person, I would probably take the physical version, because the parties where I would take a game, there it's a sit down kind of thing. You put it on the table, you get to play with the kit. But
talking about the app,
if we're just talking about the app, I'd still do it.
It just wouldn't be as cool.
Because it wouldn't be as cool, I think, because I'm one of those people who likes the kit. And if I have an opportunity to have it, and then I want that. But if I forgot to bring it, if I don't have access to it, I'd lent it out, whatever it is, I would have, you still have the app, you still have the same game, basically. Yep. I think most of the spectrums are the same. You get the same idea, you can still play the same game, you can play it with the same people that you wanted to before, and it's still a good version of it. It works just the same way. So yeah, I'd still bring this to a party.
Very good. How about you, Rock?
I definitely would bring this to a party. And by bring this to a party, tell people around me to download it so we can play it in about 30 seconds.
Indeed.
Yes.
Indeed. How about you, Brian?
Same. I would definitely bring it to a party, especially because it's an app. So it's not like I have to bring anything to a party. It's on my phone and my phone goes where I go. I would definitely get people to play it at a party, whether it's distanced, in person, Zoom, whatever. It's going to work. Yeah, it's easy to understand. It's fun. It's free. Why not?
Indeed. How about you, Marty?
Well, I think the question's kind of worded incorrectly, because Brian was saying you're not exactly bringing anything. As long as you have a phone, even if you don't have it installed on your phone before you go to the party, you can get it on your phone at the party. So the question I would answer is, would I suggest it to be played at a party? And the answer is yes.
I was actually about to come around to it. Would you be the person obnoxious enough to tell everybody else at the party they have to go into the app store and download an app on their phone? Would you be willing to go through that trouble for this game?
What's the
gaming party?
password?
Yes.
Yeah, like people have done that with Among Us, or
Space Team.
Space Team. People, it's not a thing people haven't done. It's like Bruce said, there's going to be people who are resistant to your friend groups.
Yeah.
So if that's a problem, then that's a problem. But if it's not, then I don't know. You got to figure that out for yourself.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with everybody. I would not hesitate to tell friends and strangers about it wherever I am if I need to kill some time. This is the kind of thing that if I am somewhere and someone says, oh, you like games, do you mean like Monopoly? I would not hesitate to say, if you have 20 minutes, let me show you what I mean. Pull this app out. Let's play real fast. I think this could be the one. I think this could convert a lot of people, if they're not already in this gaming sphere, to really giving it a look, especially when you say to them, oh, did you like this game? Guess what? The real version has like a physical wheel and stuff. So I think there's a lot that's really good here. And once again, it's a game I think is a great physical piece, and I think they did an amazing job on the app here. I cannot be any more positive about the work they've done on this one. So I would also definitely take it to a party / to make sure that we have followed everyone's requirements here. Yes, I would ask people around me to download it on their phone and then host a game so that people can play it.
Oh, another use case for this?
Yes, sir.
Once we're back in the world, even when we're with each other, when you're at the restaurant or the diner or wherever you are, you're just hanging out with a bunch of friends, but you've got stuff on the table and you can't really bring out a big board game or anything to play, you can bring out this app.
Yeah, this is going to replace, I think, for a lot of geeks out there. And I've known geeks that do that thing where, oh, we're waiting for food, let's play a game in the restaurant, where I would normally rather just chit-chat with people. I think bringing a game out while waiting for your food in a restaurant is way intense. But I do think this could replace that.
Bringing out Power Grid while you're waiting for your food, that's way intense.
No.
I guess it depends on where you ordered and how long the kitchen takes.
I suppose that's true. If you're at the wrong Denny's at the wrong, pulling out a nice long game may be the way to go. But yeah, I would not hesitate to take this to a party. So there you go. That's the app to Wavelength. You can find it, I think, in whatever app store you want. We at least know you can find it in the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. And they absolutely work together because we have both kinds of phones here. Yeah. It's great.
Country
it's
and
awesome.
Western.
Yeah, country and Western. For $8, I think it's well worth it to get all the packs. But once again, your mileage may vary on that. Before we get to the end of the show, we want to do one thing that we do in every episode, which is we want to thank the folks that sponsor us on Patreon. Once again, we're at patreon.com/partygamecast. If you want to help us out, that's how we go buy this game to check it out. That's how we get all the food that we need and continue to do things like host the show and keep the website up. So we want to thank, for our episode, we want to thank Mike Cooper, Brian Ganninger, and Jerry Reese. Thank you to all of you for continuing to support the show. We genuinely appreciate it. Once again, if you're out there and you want to check it out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So yeah.
Can I become weird again?
Say it again.
Yeah.
Can I become awkward again now?
You made it weird.
What do you mean
sure,
again?
Sure, Marty.
Yeah,
we're almost done. We're running it into the final steps here. Once again, thank you to all those folks for continuing to sponsor Marty, being just as weird as he continues to be. You can find us in all the places. You can find us on all the social medias at Party Gamecast. We technically have an Instagram. We never use it. At some point, once we get physical games again, I'm sure we'll take pictures of them. If you have a suggestion, if there's anything you want us to know, you can either call us at 30 Party Game, 30 PARTYGAME, or once again, reach out to us on social media. We mostly pay attention to Twitter at Party Gamecast.
Yeah, I don't think we're on TikTok. We're not
No, we're
on,
not
on
on TikTok.
Telegram.
No, we're not on any of the cool stuff. We're only on the old stuff.
Old people stuff.
Yeah. I've been your moderator, Bruce. Joining me, the show's been Rocki.
Space.
What the hell am I supposed to do with that? Mike?
Coke?
Brian?
Space is a cherry cordial, raspberry cordial.
It is a raspberry cordial. Marty?
Pepsi.
And thank you so much for listening.
He had nothing.